Yay! Okay, guys, as soon as somebody comes on here, I need you to let me know that you can hear me, first of all. So let me know as you come on. Oops. Just getting all the things ready. Waiting for Tobey. Oh, hey. Welcome, guys. So we're waiting for Tobey to get on, but as you guys jump on, let me know who's listening and where you guys are coming from, and put that over in your chat box. Say, hey, I'm in Seattle. Tobey's in Whidbey. Cool. Let's see. So we're just getting all the text sorted. Waiting for our folks. And we'll get going. Santa Barbara. Cool. 5:30 a.m. Good Lord. That's early. Patty in Bellevue. Hey, Patty. Cool, guys. Let me just make sure Tobey's not having any problems. Boop. Hattie from Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth. Cool. Hey, Lisa, Long Island. We got everybody here. Well, today is our first sunny day in a while. I imagine Texas is pretty nice too, right? Santa Barbara probably too. I heard Santa Barbara is like as close as you could get to it, eternal spring. That sounded nice to me. Cool. Well, we're just about to get started. Let me just make sure Tobey's good. Stormy yesterday. Yeah. We've had some snow. We don't get much snow here. So snowy Minnesota. You got snow. You got lots of snow. Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for coming. Awesome, guys. It's so cool to see where everybody's coming from. Hey, Lori. Oh, we know Lori. Yay. Welcome. Oregon. I used to live there. I love Oregon. Well, welcome. Cool, Tobey. I just need to make sure that, Tobey, you've got your webcam on and your microphone on. Yay!
All right. Sorry.
No problem.
I'm not known for being a tech whiz.
I don't think like any of us floral designers are like tech masters. I know that my first webinars were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. We got Nicole
Crazy.
here checking from Bahamas. That's cool.
Wow.
Hey.
Bahamas.
No, we got like everybody on board with this one.
Nice.
Well, cool.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, we'll get started. So my name's Emily, Emily Anderson. I have two kind of businesses going. One is our event design business where we do floral and full event production. And I've been foam free and using local and sustainable flowers as much as possible for the past 6 years. Before that, I was just like kind of clueless. I just didn't know what was available. So just did whatever. But kind of changed about 6 years ago, and also started developing a financial framework for floral designers to make money based on how I kind of turned around my own company to make money in my company. And that's what we sell through Curious Lola and Teach. So Curious Lola is our teaching platform for floral designers for financial strategy. And I will be teaching with Tobey at her upcoming workshop in April, the Whidbey Floral Workshop, Flower Workshop. So Tobey, tell us about you.
Well, I came to floristry from a garden background. I had about probably 20 years in landscape design and maintenance, and then switched to floristry, blah, 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 kind of a long story, but probably 8 or 9 years ago. And I was an organic gardener. And so then when I switched to floristry, I just kind of brought all that stuff along with me and tried foam once or twice and thought, what the hell is this? And like did a little homework and realized, yeah, I don't want this. Yeah. So since then, I have pursued lots of ways of doing things. And it was a while before I found other people that were also working foam free. So I had my time of MacGyvering ways of doing things. Before then, I also started to collect from other people the way they do things without foam. So that's part of my thing. I do weddings and events, mostly weddings. And I do some teaching, and I'm super excited for the workshop with you. Yeah, so it's good.
Cool. Well, we're talking about, we'll talk about a little about the workshop later, but first we're going to talk about sustainability and kind of like how to grow that in your own business from two sides. So sustainable design and then sustainable finances.
Yeah.
AKA getting you some money for your business, because that's what I'm all about. But first, guys, if you guys have any connection issues, just kind of like try to jump back on. I know if you close down, this like takes a lot of like streaming power. So if you guys close down anything else that's open, have like your son stop playing video games, like that can help with connection issues if you guys have anything. But put it in the chat if you guys are having some any problems, and we'll try to help you out with that. So sustainability, and I know there's like a lot of terms out there, like certifications, low flowers, local, like there's a lot of stuff. So I was just wondering, maybe Tobey, you can talk about kind of what that means for you and then how that kind of plays out in your business.
Sure. So I think about sustainability from a number of levels. I think there is sustainability plays into foam free or how you build your structures, whether or not you use foam. It plays into sourcing of your flowers and where they come from and how they are grown. It plays to me also in the choices that we make in our business. So, do you compost? Do you recycle? When you are choosing a product for your office or for an event, are you looking for a better than product? So I like to first of all, think that anybody, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, any one thing that you do that's more intentional than the way you did it yesterday or the last time, that's taking a step towards sustainability. And I think baby steps are how change happens, and that's very valuable and important. I think everyone's business is very different. Every job that you do is very different. And so you will have more and less success and ease making different changes for different events. And I think as long as you're being intentional with the choices and you're thinking about it, that's really what's most important. So, there is that piece. But realizing that it's not only about foam or it's not only about sourcing, it's also about, are you paying yourself a living wage? Are you hiring enough help so that you're not burning out? Are you able to work in a way that sustains your creativity? There's more to sustainability than just sourcing and foam. So for me, that's a big piece. And that's why I like working with you so well, because you have that whole business sustainability mindset, which is totally important, because we can't keep doing this if we are not financially sustainable.
Yeah, totally. I have a similar, like all of that stuff. And since I do kind of like some bigger construction pieces, for us, sustainability is all about, and I love your word intentional, about just like what the life cycle is of the materials that you choose to work with. So we don't even necessarily tell a lot of our clients that they're getting the sustainable method of building something or doing something. It just is how we work. So, so whether somebody might make something else out of foam, we would make it out of, wood and wire and armatures and moss and all that. So for us, it's just understanding that life cycle. Can we get something low impact from the get-go? Can we use it in a way that's well used and we're not buying more than we need? And then can it go back to the cycle somehow? So that's what we pay attention to. And one of the reasons why I really love working with you and what you teach is that you're not like, this is the only way to do it. These are the 3 methods for you to be sustainable. And if you're not this way, then you're doing it wrong.
Right.
And I really like that you're not like an a-hole about it, because everybody's trying and everybody's trying to make their client happy and trying to operate and make money and just, sometimes just survive in this industry. And I love your position on that.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I think the most important thing for me is that people think through, that they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. And like on the foam issue, part of me thinks like, oh, well, if you live in a hot place, like maybe you do need to rely on foam. But then I have to ask myself, like, does it even work? And I have definitely helped on projects and been a freelancer where I see the flowers crashing in the foam because that foam is clogging their, the drinking vessels in the flowers. And so, there are things that we assume are going to work that maybe aren't. And part of the process towards being sustainable, I think, is really looking at what you're doing and does it totally work? And is there a better way to do this? And I think that's all part of it.
Yeah. One thing that you were saying earlier when we were kind of putting together what to talk about was what you had to say on sourcing. And that's one thing that I honestly have not dug into as much as I think you have. And I'm super excited to hear from you about like, what are the certifications? And I know that there's, local, and sometimes local isn't the best option. And then there's South American, and sometimes there are good options for South American. And so I'm just like, I know that there's a lot of confusion out there about like what to do, to choose. And so I know you've done a lot of research on that.
Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about the whole big picture. So I always try to source close to home first. So part of that is I have visited the farmers markets in my area, and I am just out in the community and I talk to people, and I have found who is growing what near me. So I will throw out an email to people like, hey, I've got a wedding coming up in a month and the colors are pink. What might you have? So I try to start with local flower farmers there. And then I will go next to my market. And we're really lucky because we have the Seattle Wholesale Growers Market near us, which does make it easier to source. That said, somebody is growing something near you, so there's that piece. But then I might go to my wholesaler. When I do shop at the wholesaler, I always ask for American grown first. And I ask them to let me know if things are not going to be American grown. One question that I get is American, so there's certified American grown is a program. That is not necessarily sustainable. What they are certifying is that they are from America and that this company is not bringing things up and slipping it in and saying it's California grown. So just because you're getting a California certified American grown product does not mean that it's sustainably grown. I think that's where you need to do a little due diligence. I know from my days in kind of the agriculture, horticulture arena that, while America allows horrible, egregious things to be sprayed, it's even a little better than many other places. So I know that by sourcing from America, we automatically kind of have a few, restricted chemicals. Theoretically, we have labor restrictions. So maybe that product is a little bit better than. Then if I have to go out to imports, I look for a couple certifications. I ask for those certifications from my wholesaler. So I say, can you please source? One is the Rainforest Alliance certified program. Another one is the Flor Verde. And those certifications offer a couple different things. So the Rainforest Alliance certification is more of an environmental stance. So they work with their farmers on like cropland clearing and then actual farming practices. So runoff and spraying and that kind of thing. The Flor Verde certification is maybe a little more tailored towards their labor treatment and towards like fair trade practices, that sort of thing. So I know that those are a better than choice. And I mean, let's be honest, if you're doing an installation for a wedding that's going to be viewed from a little bit far away, you might need the head size of a rose that only South America can deliver. Or if it's wintertime and there's nothing in America that's what your bride wants, like part of being sustainable also is like, you got to stay in business. You got to make your people happy. And, you know, there are some businesses that say like, I absolutely am not going to get anything that's not from America. More power to you. That's cool. Like, I don't have that financial luxury. I have two voracious teenage boys to feed. So I have to make my customers, not that you're not making your customers happy, but I have to kind of make some concessions. I think it's a little bit about being real about what your business model is and what you need to do to survive, right? So that's when I feel good. If I am sourcing a big Ecuadorian rose in January, if I know that it's come from a place where at least childcare is offered to these workers, or, you know, their wages are fair. I think that that's really valuable information to have. Another thing that I have done that's been really helpful is I sat down with the owner of the wholesale house that I source from, who does, like, they have all the big imports and stuff. And a lot of those people are offered trips very regularly by the growers. And so they are out there visiting and going to see the farms, and they know who the good people are to deal with and who are not. And, you know, he was very candid with me about the farms that he likes to work with and the farms that he doesn't. And so now his people know what I am after. And I know the names of the farms to ask them to source from when I put my orders in. And that has really helped me feel like I am making a positive contribution, a better than choice when I'm not getting it from my Washington, you know, local farmers that I know. So that's kind of a long-winded answer. And also for me, like I see someone's giving a shout out to Canada. And for me, yeah, like totally, I'm closer to Canada than I am from California. And so there's a lot of great product that comes down from California. And I have no guilt about buying that because I know that Canada is really good with their, you know, their horticulture restrictions for sprays, and they're close. So the carbon footprint is important to me, and I think of it in that way too.
Yeah, I love that. And one thing, I don't know how many people actually know Tobey, but you're the type of person that's like, you ask a question, like just imagining you sitting in front of the wholesaler and asking a question, and then they give an answer, and you're like, but what about this? And they give another answer, and you're like, what? You're such a digger, like you're gonna get the good stuff. So I just love that about you, and that the stuff that you get from Tobey is honest and well thought out and deep. It, you know, deeply sought after. Like I'm kind of like, oh, is this local? And they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. that wouldn't go over in your book. So I love that that you have that depth about you too.
Thanks. I try.
You too. I know that Lori had a question about American grown and what do you do during, like, is carbon footprint better or distance? I can tell you personally, I also don't I don't stay within American grown as a region. So the jet fuel, you know, that kind of carbon footprint is something I think about. What is more important to me is the treatment of people, the abuse of water, and, you know, the pollution of waterways and that sort of thing, and chemicals and all that. So wherever it's coming from, for me personally in my company, I look to how the environment and the people are treated more than where it's coming from personally.
Yeah. And I think that's the beautiful thing is if people are just thinking, right? Like think about it. And that right there is going to get you so far if you just think about it. And a lot of people don't know to think about it. And this is a big piece of, I know we'll talk about this, education, so education is a huge topic, but education of yourself and education of your consumer. Many of my customers don't come to me necessarily because they're looking for sustainability, because most consumers don't even know. Like the slow food movement has done a lot to educate people about farming. Not every consumer has made that connection to flowers. And so I take any customer inquiry that I get as an opportunity to let people know, like, hey, this is how I work. And I bet you didn't even know that this was an issue. But if you work with me, you're actually engaging in a positive part of this conversation and you're actually making, a positive impact. And so to me, that's kind of like the counterpoint of the fear of like, oh my gosh, is it going to cost more to source sustainable flowers? Which sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. It's very specific to the flower. But a lot of time people, once they know, they're willing to spend a little more, just like I'm willing to spend more on organic produce, right?
Totally.
I feel like I'm investing in something better. People will make those same choices with flowers frequently. But going back to what you were saying, every job is going to be different. The need of every job is going to be different. Some jobs will need all the big roses. Some jobs will not. So just being aware of the different opportunities and options for each material and each job and just thinking it through, that in itself is so important.
Yeah.
They're all that good.
No, that makes sense. And that's really interesting. I talk a lot to my students about kind of what people buy, what people are actually buying from you. And I think I have the perception for my people, and I do a lot of corporate work where we have big floral need. If we're doing a floral installation, it's a big thing. Like we're doing a big thing. And so I feel like my client thinks they care about sustainability, but when it comes down to it, they just want the thing in their budget. So I actually don't even talk. That's not part of my, that's not what I come out of the gate with or my selling strategy, which I totally could and people do and it works. But I actually think about it as like, once I have this client and they trust me, then I have this great opportunity to start talking about all this stuff. Or once I have the job, or when we're talking about it, when they're already engaged because they want something sculptural, or they know we're going to reduce their stress, like whatever their like big problem is that I'm solving for them. Once I have them with that, then I can talk about all these other things. And they're like, bonus, like, great, we love that. But then that's just a way to kind of keep spreading this and getting more people on board for the next time. So that's another way we kind of talk about it. Well, cool, guys. I also want to talk about sustainability in your business because I want all of you guys to be able to have sustainable companies, be using flowers that are sustainably grown, maybe even like, maybe things are coming from multiple areas and that seems like a burden. I want you to be able to charge what you need to charge and have your clients like, yes, I want you. And having people pay you enough to sustain yourself and having you know what that is. So a lot of what we teach and what we'll be teaching at your workshop, Tobey, is kind of like how to do that. So sustainability for me is ensuring that you're doing what you love. It has, meaning for you. you're aligned with your company. And so this is lasting in terms of you're getting filled up, right? Like this is something you can do for a long time, and that you are aligned with the kinds of clients that will pay you enough and what you need to sustain that financially. So you need to be supporting your life. Like nobody's going to decide that you've reached a certain level and you deserve a certain amount of money to support yourself and your family. And so like you are the person that needs to find what that is. And I want to say demand that, but and that seems harsh, but it means about driving your company and focusing your messaging and your clients and everything you're doing so that those right clients are so attracted to you that you're getting paid and you're going over the hump. You're getting all of your needs met. So what we do in our courses and in your workshop is going to be totally understanding your finances, understanding all of your costs, because I know that there's like all of those sneaky costs that just leak out all the time, like setup costs and tear down costs and little extras that you're adding in for people and not charging for. I really ask and show you guys how to get a hold of all those costs, totally understand them, and then figure out what that success looks like for you. Figure out what you need to be making in order to make so that this is working. I'm going to be able to do this long term, and this is making me money. So we find that place for you, and then we talk about your message, your products, your services, who your client is, so that we can kind of optimize your marketing and your message. So those people are just see you, they see what you're offering, and no matter what it's costing, they're ready to do it.
I see a great question from Lori here about new designers and how to price and how to compete with established florists. And I'm sure, Emily, you have an awesome answer for that. But I just wanted to jump in and say there's so many layers to this. But I think something that I want to throw into this discussion is the importance of educating yourself so that as a new florist, you are still being a good florist. And given we all start somewhere and we all have lots to learn, like I still have so much to learn in my life. But I think education is really important. And it's hard out of the chute because you don't have a lot of money, but that is going to be something that will help you in the long run. But understand that if you are not charging a competitive price with the other established florists, you are undercutting yourself, you are positioning yourself as the less than person, and you're limiting your ability to grow. And you're also promoting this idea that flowers are not valuable, which then inhibits our whole industry from growing forward and doing better. So I feel like pricing is a marketing decision, and pricing is a confidence game also. And that's something, Emily, that I love about you is you are able to help people understand their business and understand not just like the numbers, but also kind of the selling game. Maybe to say it's a game makes it seem smarmy, but the process of selling, and you help people become confident in their business pants so that they can then go in and speak to someone in a good way about pricing and the whys of pricing, and sort of standing up for your value and what you're doing, and having that confidence to stand behind your pricing, which I think is where new florists or anyone new in their business probably struggles, is your lack of confidence then translates into pricing that isn't good for anyone at all. So now you can talk more about that question.
Oh yeah, and I love that. And I think that the misconception is as a new florist, you feel insecure. You feel like everybody has it figured out. They don't. They're all trying to figure it out all the time. And you feel like they have reached a certain level where they deserve it. And I would tell you, anybody that's starting, you deserve to be paid and sustained by your prices from the get-go. So like, hands down, you deserve to charge what it costs. I think as an industry, and I like peruse the Facebook groups to see like what florists are saying about whatever. There's a lot of blaming, like, well, people won't pay this, my clients won't do this, people don't understand. And the reason why I think that the industry is the way it is and doesn't value flowers is because we have trained them to not value flowers. This is our fault.
Yes.
And the only way we get out of that is by educating and changing the way we're doing it. Because if somebody goes to Lori and says, I want this and this and this, and I only want to pay this, and she says, I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that, but maybe we can adjust something and get it to your price point, and it'll look like this and this and this. And they're like, sorry, I'm going to look somewhere else. And they go down to Nicole, and Nicole's like, oh, well, it'll cost us this and this and this. And they're like, well, that was like, gosh, this is so expensive. I guess flowers are just more than what I thought. And the whole like idea that, if you have wedding flowers, you're getting, screwed over. All of that is something that we've developed because people are willing to do it for less, do it for nothing, lose money on it. In order to get that person happy and have a beautiful portfolio. And I will tell you, I do want you to have a beautiful portfolio. I think you should definitely do something to get beautiful images for yourself that are aligned with the kind of work you want in your life. And I think you should, that's a real thing. And even if you have a job that, if you're in need of those photos and you have a job that you trust the client and really want that, then hey, do it once, but that should not be something you do more than once. I feel like. And
that should be part of your marketing budget. You should then know, like, I am going to rock this job. So I'm going to take whatever, X, $500 from my marketing budget, and I'm going to put it towards this event because I know I'm going to get something out of this event. Let me chime in too that you cannot assume that the client's photographer is going to give you the great pictures. And if you ever are doing that, I would consider also hiring your own photographer that's there for your best interest with the look that you want them to have, so that you then make sure that you get the value out of it. Because I've done that. Like, I've given a client something, better or more special or whatever, assuming that the pictures are going to be awesome. And then the pictures come back and like, maybe the photographer didn't even take the shot, or the shots are dark and I need them to be light for my branding. And then I'm totally hosed because I'm discouraged totally. And I lost that money and I didn't get the thing I thought I was going to get. And I just want to save everyone from having that same burn. Make sure if you're going to give something away, I think people like to know they're getting things for free. So always tell them and cover your butt. Like, if you're going to make that investment, make sure that it is an investment for yourself.
Yeah.
So there's my 2 cents.
I love that. And one thing Lori said is something about kind of like social justice, right? Like, you want everybody to be able to have these flowers, and some people can't spend a lot of money. I totally get that. And I have a luxury client. So, and that was a specific decision I made, because in the beginning I did everything, and I did everything for anybody, and I cut my costs, and I just did it because I wanted the work. And I will tell you, I almost quit every year for the first 5 years because it was too much, and it almost ruined my family. It ruined my health. I mean, these are the things, if you give yourself with not enough as a fair exchange for all of that heart and soul and blood and sweat and tears, then you're not going to last, and you're not doing anybody any favors by going away. If people can't have what your talent and your creativity and your love, that's just not going to last if you're not sustaining yourself with your prices. So, but I do know what you're saying, and I think that there's a place for everybody to. And part of the work we'll do is you're going to choose who your client is, who your ideal people are, and if you want to work with people outside of that, and give them a discount or give them a special rate, you can do that. But you should be aware that you are maybe not meeting your needs. And so if you're doing that, you can budget, you could put a budget on what kind of jobs that you can do for that kind of, people that kind of tug at your heartstrings. So there's that way of doing it. Or you can understand your costs in a way that show you how that you can make enough for you based on that kind of clientele. So if I were doing work for a non-luxury client, then I would be changing my strategy for how I work with those people so that I'm not putting in so much work. So they're not getting a custom product every time. They're not getting the vases that they want. They're getting what I already have in stock. And they're not getting any flower they want. They're getting what I give them. There's ways to adjust the way you do business so that your structure is supporting you and giving them an appropriate product for the level that they're able to spend at. But I will tell you that not everybody can afford flowers, period. It's a luxury product. I think, it's people are still going to get married and have a beautiful day without flowers is the reality. So I don't necessarily think that just because everybody wants flowers and that they see on Pinterest that they should get that. Cost money.
I think also thinking creatively, and given you need to charge people for thinking creatively, but understanding that, okay, if someone doesn't have a huge floral budget, like there are more expensive flowers and less expensive flowers. And bouncing back to an earlier topic about people feeling like, sustainably grown flowers are more expensive. In my experience, it's really that there are expensive flowers and that there are less expensive flowers. And the cost is not in as much how they are grown. It's just what they are, right? So maybe your budget clients, they can't have ranunculus, but they can have, there's still beautiful flowers that, are not as expensive. And maybe you have a program where, for instance, I have tons of candles in my inventory that have paid for themselves 1,000,000 times over. And so when I get a client that doesn't have a lot of money to spend, I say, look, your bridal bouquet is going to be in every picture you have, and pictures of your ceremony are going to be, prominent, and maybe pictures of you sitting at your head table. So let's put the flowers where it matters. And then at other places, when I'm in that situation that I want to take on that social justice client, I might give them my candles to use, my pillar candles, where really they're going to burn them, but I'm going to still be able to get many, many more other dollars of rentals out of them later. And so then it's how I use their budget. I think that is also part of being a professional, is saying okay, well, you come in telling me that you want this. I know that you can't afford this. So I'm going to help you get to a place where I know you're going to be happy and you're going to get the things that matter the most. And then people are super thrilled because you've helped them get what they need. And for the places that they need, they're also really getting what they want. And then you're not out of pocket. You don't have to do the social justice job, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And one thing I think you might notice as you start, if you're new and starting, is, and this is something that I went through, is that I had a bleeding heart for all of these people with all of these life situations that were not allowing them to have the wedding of their dreams. And I would give it to them anyways. Mm-hmm. And then you show up on site and you realize that, and you tell them, I'm giving you $750 off so that you can have this thing that you want but can't afford. And then you show up and they have added some other vendor. They've spent that money somewhere else. And look for that when it ever comes out, because that is a clue that they actually didn't value what you had in the first place. So a lot of the work that we're going to be doing is knowing that people are going to value what they value. You can't control that, right? And that's okay. You don't need to have everybody value and understand what you do. All you need to do is make sure you know what you need to value yourself as. And then you can decide if you're going to let these people into your life and help them or not. And it's okay if you're sitting in front of somebody and they say no, you can not be emotional about it, not have that reflect on yourself badly, and just understand, oh, okay, I get that. I see now that you are maybe not my person. You don't value it this way. And then you can be like, okay, cool. Here's how, like you were saying, we can shift the items that you're asking for in order to get your budget, what you value this as. But it's going to look different than what we originally talked about. So there's tons of ways to go about it. I think a lot of what we teach, again, going back to just your mindset about it, is so much of what these pricing problems are is just confidence and your own baggage. Like, it's your own stuff that you're putting on other people. And so it's just kind of understanding from a very objective point of view. It's like, here's what I need. Here's what I need. I need to ask you for it in order to have me feel good about this. And if they say no, then you say, okay, what's the creative solution to get what you want and what I want, or you're not my person?
I think so much of it is just about, it's not really drawing a line, because that sounds harsh, right? Yeah. It's about having a standard of how you operate your business. And I think that when you learn, with some of Emily's good teaching, how to put on your business pants, like, I think the personality of many florists is that of a giver, right? And it's hard to then take a business mindset on top of that personality, because sometimes making business-based decisions doesn't feel like a giver kind of decision. So we become a little uncomfortable in that way. I sort of lost my point. Oh, right. So, but you are a business, and to stay in business, you have to think like a business, right? So then you figure out what your business policies and practices are. And so some of those are going to be about sustainability. I mean, I hope that some of them will be about sustainability, right? So, when we do a job, we always look first to, can we do this with whatever, chicken wire, floral frogs, and sustainable mechanics. We are going to try sourcing first. But it's also fair to say, like, we are going to make sure that we don't lose money on these jobs, and that we always stand up for our pricing margins. And it's okay to say to someone, or, like, I have had many times where I want the Nordstrom shoes, but I can't afford the Nordstrom shoes. So I go to Macy's and I get the Macy's shoes, and it's all good. Like, I don't have any ill will against Nordstrom for their shoes being the price that they are. It's just a matter of, like, am I matching myself to the product that I need for this particular occasion? And it's perfectly acceptable as a business to stand up for your policies and your standards and your guidelines. And once you put them onto yourself and you're clear with what those things are, it becomes a lot more easy to operate. And I will tell you, having also gone from that, like, did a lot of giving in the first years of my business and did a lot of underpricing, when you transform to being a profitable person that can, like, buy your kids clothes and food and that kind of thing, and
health insurance,
stress about it, it feels freaking good.
Yeah.
So, like, there is no shame in being a successful and profitable business. We don't have to feel bad about reaching that place.
There's no shame in even charging so much more than your competitors too.
Yeah, totally.
It's only an exchange between you and your client, and making sure that both of you are happy with the exchange you've made.
Yeah.
Well, I know there's tons of questions, and I feel like we could go on forever.
I want to read into some of them.
There was one about pre-screening. And this goes into, like, kind of like one of the takeaways I want people to do with, at least going in, like, what to do next in a sustainable, financially sustainable company for you. And one is about getting the right clients, of course. So pre-screening, I meet with anybody who wants to meet with us. we do have a phone call, and I do demand their budget. Like, I need to know their budget range. So I think a lot of the problems with not getting the right people or pre-screening is about, do they have the budget to begin with, or like, are they even in the realm of reality, or is this going to, I have a minimum amount of revenue that I need to make every month about, and so I know whether or not if I'm going to spend a weekend on a certain amount that a client has available, right? So one thing that I would recommend everybody doing is just like demanding nicely, just getting that budget out of them. And I know everybody does have a budget. They just are not comfortable telling it. So one thing I do to kind of get it out is just spit out a number. So they're like, oh, we don't have a budget. We just wanted to see all of our options. I'm like, oh yeah, totally understand. It's a really confusing time, and who has ever done this? And it's confusing, but let me know if you have any questions that I can help guide you. And then I was like, but were you thinking like in the $15,000 range, like $10,000 to $15,000? And usually they're like, whoa, like, no. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like maybe like 3 to 5 then. And you can kind of like push around until they're like, we were thinking maybe like 1,500 to 3,000 or something. And you're like, oh, okay, great. Well, at least now you know how much time you're going to spend on putting an idea together for these people, and you're not going to be wasting your time. So that's kind of like a good takeaway that I would want you guys to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I have tiers of pricing. Where I live in a small town kind of, and we get some destination weddings, but we don't have all of the kinds of venues that bring in some of the bigger, huge budget weddings. So I have tiers. I don't have a minimum, but I have this, and this helps kind of with the lower budget weddings. I just call it my season's best package. And there are like 3 choices of centerpiece that someone can choose. And each item has a per point minimum. And when I have people that are in that kind of like less than $4,000 budget, I just steer them to that. And I let them know, I will totally give you something gorgeous. I will work to your colors, but we're not going to have a million meetings about this. There's a limited, timeline, and you can pick this centerpiece or that style centerpiece. And that is a way that helps me sort of efficiently, with my own time, deal with people, give them something gorgeous that they are going to like, that feels like my brand, but that preserves my pricing standards and makes it very easy from a selling end. I don't have to put a ton of time into those low budget events, but still everybody's able to get things. So I don't know.
Sorry guys, I'm just realizing that my computer's not hooked up and I might run out of power.
Oh, well, that's pretty important. That would dump the whole thing.
I know. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Yay.
I see somebody asking a question, do you have a basic pricing system? And I want to be here to say, like, don't use basic pricing systems until you have really analyzed your own interior workings so that you know what your business needs, and be wary of the pricing systems. If you need to start there, do it, but reflect every time to see how it worked for you. And that, I think, is the beauty of Emily's process, is that she has you look at your own numbers to find your own multiplier. So yeah. I'm just going to be the like third party person giving a shout out to totally. Don't just use some prescribed thing. It just doesn't always work.
Yeah, the way that we do pricing, and I will tell you what I do for my pricing structure, but I will tell you that your pricing structure should be different because you're a different company. So the way we do pricing and teach pricing is to design the business that you feel is supporting you and supporting your customers. We design what that looks like. We craft what that looks like from a financial standpoint. And then we reverse engineer that into what your pricing needs to look like on a client-to-client basis. So that's going to be different for anybody. I see all of the techniques, the markups, the design fees, the percentages, the flat fees, pain in the ass fees, whatever fees you have. Those are all the tools to get what you need, right? So the work we do is to figure out So make sure you know what you need, and then you will construct your own pricing structure based on any of those pricing tools, right? So pricing is an art and marketing and positioning, all the things you said. But there is no formula that you should be using that's correct. Because if you're basing on a formula, then chances are you might be fooling yourself into thinking that it's covering all of your expenses. So we figure out what your expenses are first, and then we reverse engineer that. I will tell you what I do. I have a design fee. It's a flat fee based on the estimated time that I feel like it's going to take to do the management and planning of a person's project. And that's a flat fee. It doesn't change. So if they reduce their number of things, they still have to pay that fee. And it's $100 an hour. So that's how it's based. And then we use a markup for the products. So the production of each product has a standard kind of markup. And that's the amount of money it takes to just make that product. So if they take a product off, they lose that whole, all their production costs for that too. Then we also have an operations fee. The operations fee is based also on billing rate, all of the things that it takes to set up and tear down an event. So that's a lump sum, but I also tell the client, this is based on an estimation of 60 personnel hours to set up and tear down your event. So as things change, then you're able to come back and ask for more money if something changes that adds more labor. So I have no problem talking about money to my clients. I find that if you ask, then and understand what's going on, if they're not surprised by your process, then they'll understand and are totally willing to pay for what they want. And they may realize, oh, I actually don't need you to drop off the boutonnieres to a second hotel in town. I'll just have somebody swing by as you're setting up and grab those. So that's what I recommend.
It's good. And I want to just make sure people understand when you say your design fee is a flat fee, it's not a flat fee that is the same for every job. Yes. For that one job, it yes. is a fee that remains the same. Because if you do that as a percentage, think about it. Like if you then start going about helping your client save money, you're spending a bunch of extra time to then lose the money from your percentage-based design fee in the end. So you've really sort of, screwed yourself over. And that is something you can sell to a client is like, hey, I am giving you this rate, and this rate does not keep me from wanting to sell you less. It's like a commission. When real estate works on a commission, you feel like, well, they're not incentivized to sell me a less expensive house, right? So let people know that you are not being incentivized to sell them a higher priced event. Like you want to sell them the event that fits for them best with what they want and what they have and what they can do within their venue and all of that. So, yes. And I think itemized proposals are also awesome. I'm going to jump in and just answer that question from Diane. All my stuff is itemized out because it makes it easier for people to see what they're getting. Do you itemize, Emily?
I do itemize. I think it builds trust. I personally like to see itemizations. A lot of my clients, again, I have luxury clients, and a lot of them don't care what the end cost is, but they like to see that I've done the work. Like they don't want to be screwed over either. So if I list it out, they look at it, they're like, oh, you listed it out. All looks reasonable. Great. So I do itemize.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that it builds confidence,
Yeah. And honestly, I'm doing it anyways in the background to make sure that I'm covering my costs. So
totally.
Hey, I want to make sure this is like, I love all this conversation.
Oh,
I think this is like all of the conversation that's going to be happening at your workshop. And so I want to give everybody a chance to ask any questions about the workshop that they may have. It's coming up in April. I'm going to be teaching, you're going to be teaching, and we'll talk about all of this more in terms of sustainability on both sides. But tell me about the workshop.
Well, so we will be spending, so the workshop is 3 days, right? It's Sunday afternoon, and then it's Monday and Tuesday. And there will be a chunk of every day that is spent with Emily to talk about business stuff. And then we have a snack. Oh, Lori's asking about dates. So it's the 7th to the 9th of April. It's on Whidbey. You can camp at my house if lodging is a price point issue, or there's lots of people doing housing shares, so you can get into that sort of thing. Anyway, so a big chunk of every day is dedicated to business. And then we have a break and a snack, and we clear our brains. And then we will dive into, one day is full on floral installations. And my goal is not, I want everyone, we're going to have a photographer there. And so every work that we do will be photographed, and you will get beautiful professional photographer pictures for your portfolio of both the common installations that we do, because a lot of it will, it's big, so we're just going to make one altogether, as well as then some of the smaller pieces that we do that each individual person will make. So it's great portfolio building. But I see a lot of these workshops where, and they're often sponsored by a floral wholesaler, which I am not, where, it's like, okay, that's a gorgeous thing, but realistically, what were there 1 million bunches of roses in that? And I will never, ever be able to make and sell that to a client. So why did I bother? So what I am aiming to teach you in my workshop is a huge, big, huge tote bag of all kinds of different mechanics skills that you can apply in many ways. And we'll talk about it at the workshop. Okay, this is how to do something like this, on the affordable, less expensive range. And then this is how to translate it to way more of a luxury look. So that what you will come out with is this toolbox of mechanic knowledge, so that anything that you might want to make or try to sell to somebody, or that someone might ask you to make during this season, because, floral installations are the hottest trend in weddings, says Junebug Weddings for 2019. So be ready to build those installations. So it's all about learning the mechanics, and then we will make stuff. So the pictures will be gorgeous, totally. And we've got all kinds of great local products coming. And we'll have pictures. And then the end of every day is I'm trying to allow a half hour to an hour for just sit down and talk about it. So we will have big question and answer situations like this going. Of course, lunchtime often evolves into a Q&A time. And then the first, we've got a meet and mingle session or whatever the first night. The second night, everyone's free to do whatever they want for dinner, but a lot of times people will meet up, and then it just becomes another whole big, great networking session. And then the last night, we're doing something different this year that I'm super excited about. So we're doing a farewell feast, and we've always done that. Usually it's been just the students and the teachers and maybe some of the farmers coming together. But this year we're going to bring in some select public, and this night is hosted by Deborah Prinzing, because if you haven't met Deborah, or if you're not a member of Soul Flowers, that's one of the things that has been amazing for my business, is being aligned with Deborah and being a member of Soul Flowers. And so it's worth the price of attendance just to be in the same room with Deborah and shake her hand. I'm not shitting you. That's for real.
She's like the fairy godmother.
She's the fairy godmother. She's amazing. So there's that. Then we will invite some various press people, so that you have the chance to make some press connections that could be good. But most importantly, it's an answer to this question that I hear from people a bunch, that's well, my customers aren't asking me for sustainability. So Slow Flowers has done a bunch of studies, and it's something like 80 or 90% of consumers out there in the American marketplace just don't even know where their flowers come from. They have no idea that this is even an issue, and they don't know about floral foam. And so by beginning to bring the customers into this conversation and educate them, we can get them to then ask us for what it is that we're selling, right? So what I have done is I'm trying to stud the audience this night, the other guests that will be there, that will all be meeting and mingling with each other and talking to you. They're going to be dining among our creations. So they're going to see whoa, holy shit, this is what can be happening with, the floral world. they'll get a taste for floral as art. They will begin to understand the value of the artistry of floral work that goes so much beyond like an FTD, sunshine in a mug assembly kit. So there's that piece. And then they will be educated about the slow flowers. So it's like a slow, like a farm to table dinner, but then we're going to add, I can't use the farm to vase expression because I think somebody else has got it patented, but it's that kind of concept, right? So you get that. So the idea is to bring the consumers into that conversation, both by the press people being there so that their eyes are opened and they can then talk about it, and that just so consumers start to learn and talk to each other about it. So that's the end, and that'll be cool.
Yeah. Anyway. What are some of your past attendees saying about the workshop?
Oh, well, let me click open this little document and I can read you some of the things that people have said. So it has been said, I would recommend this workshop to anyone wishing to take their floral styling skills to the next level. The techniques that I learned there instantly translated into larger wedding orders and brought new life into my work. It was fun and inspiring. So there's that.
I love that because like people get your energy, right? If you're excited about something, then you're going to sell it easier and then can start adding things that people didn't even know that they always wanted.
Yes. The best sales technique is to be passionate about your project, right? Or your product. So that's huge. And then, like another short tidbit, my time on Whidbey Island left my heart full and my mind completely blown. The workshop was truly nothing short of amazing. And if you want more testimonials, you can ask me and I'll send you all of them. But I think what I really want people to know, oh God, what do I do? Sorry, you. No moment. My goal is to give you stuff that you can turn right around and sell. And so I love having watched the past. So this is the third annual workshop. The past 2 years, I love that I have watched people take what they learned at the workshop and I see it pop up in their Instagram feed for the weddings that they've done. I see people putting the techniques into practice. I've had people come back and tell me that they've totally used what they learned. The business part this year, the use what I learned of the business part is going to be epic. Yeah. I mean, I could sit back and teach you nothing about floral stuff, and what you will learn from Emily will totally change your world and be worth the price of admission. And of course, then there's the Deborah moment, but you will not be short on tools, inspiration, new thinking when you leave the workshop. Yeah. So
what I love about that is like, it's the design and the connection and the inspiration, but it's also like just real tools on how you're going to make more money and do cooler stuff.
Yeah.
So what is the investment?
The investment is $1,850, and that is many meals, not lodging. But like I said, there's a lot of lodging shares happening. We have a Facebook group for the business, and many people abhor Facebook, whatever. It's not smarmy, but it lets people coordinate for like carpooling and housing shares. There's a lot of that going on. And truly, if you are having hardships and you like camping, you're welcome to camp in my yard. So yeah, out there.
I love that. And I can literally know years where I have lost $1,850 in one job on overspending or mismanaging or undercharging an event. So yeah. I think that's awesome. That's a great
or not knowing how to do it.
Yeah.
And not being able to sell the bigger thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to pop up a link, guys. If you guys, I know it's not as much. Yeah. I love that, Lori, too. I'm going to pop up a link where you guys can go to Tobey's website and go down to the PayPal link and click that if you want to go. I have a surprise though, because if you guys buy in the next 48 hours, then I'm working on a little mini training. It's an online mini training that will help you generate like an email sequence for when people are interested, but maybe not ready to purchase, which is great this time of year when maybe people aren't ready to make a floral decision. Then you can still be present in their lives, give them information so that when they are ready to make that decision, then you're top of mind and they already like are pretty much ready to go. So it's going to be a cool little, I know, well, you get it. So you'll get that after the workshop, but that's a little bonus we're adding to this webinar. So let me pop up that offer now, and you guys can head over and check it out. So right now is question answer. So I know there's a lot of question answers in already here that we'll go through, but let us know if you guys have anything specific on the workshop or anything we talked about today, and we will basically stay here until we have answered everybody's questions.
Yeah. So Nicole is asking, would one be able to market sustainable flowers as being healthy for the environment? Yeah, I think you totally can sell that. Again, many of my people don't come to me asking for that, but in the course of satisfying the needs that they do ask me for first, which, you know, is like whatever the color and the feel and the pricing, when you help sell those angles, I think that is a big piece of marketing. And I'm going to tie in a question that I've had maybe offline from this chat is, how do you reach the people that are trying to find the sustainable choices? And I think partnerships and collaborations are really important. So if you have businesses in your neighborhood or whatever that are doing sustainable things, by aligning yourself with their businesses and partnering with them, you can help reach their customers. So to just work on collaborations and networking is a really great way to kind of expand your marketing reach and market to your target niche people. So there's that. Emily, do you want to take like a pricing question from here?
Yeah, let's see. And I just saw Patty's question pop up, so I'll answer that real quickly too. You're not doing weddings. Are there workshops you have geared towards more generalized floral design business? So let me know if you mean retail, like if you have a floral shop. I don't know any off the top of my head. I do know that this will be useful to you in a standard floral shop as well. We've had several students in my financial strategy program that have floral shops, and while the kind of training comes from my own experience, which is not floral shops, it's transferable to anything. So understanding your costs, knowing who your ideal client is, and changing your marketing, your messaging to that, to really like hone in on that client, is going to be useful for everybody. The techniques that Tobey will teach is useful for everybody. Retail and bouquet delivery. Cool.
Yeah. Hi, Debbie. Fun to know that you're out there. Yeah, we will do some centerpiece stuff also in the workshop, which is, you know, applicable to any kind of shop. And then we're going to do a bonus session on the Sunday. So if you are interested in sort of new corsage personal wearables mechanics, so kind of Sue McCleary inspired, you know, but with my take. So that also is applicable for flower shops, you know, like updated techniques for, you know, prom and homecoming corsages and that kind of thing, as well as your shop wedding work kind of things. And cool. I'm sorry you have a newborn and you can't come. That's tough.
We're happy you have a newborn.
I'm not sorry that you have a newborn. That's a shame, but yeah.
I see Xenia, just to better understand, flat design fee instead of standard 30% labor markup. So again, I don't disagree with percentage markups. I feel like they're a really good time saver when you know that they work. So I feel like they're a great idea once you've figured out what you need your business to make, how you need that set up. And if that's one of the tools that you use for a design fee, let's see, instead of standard 30% labor. Oh, maybe I'm asking your question incorrectly. So I actually charge a design fee, and a production charge is what each item is. And then I also charge an operations fee. And the operations fee includes the labor for day of only, and tear down and cleaning my shop afterwards. It includes like rental car fees, truck fees, parking, lunch for my crew, like all of the things that it takes to put together a setup and tear down. That's what my operations fee is. I base that on my operations fee is based on like is a flat fee also. And I use flat fee as it's not associated with how much they spend. So it's not a percentage. So they spend $1,500 for an operations fee. Then the only way to change that is to have less labor involved on setup day. The design fee I don't like as a percentage because, as Toby was saying, as people do more iterations and more iterations and more iterations, then you actually are spending more time in the design process and earning less money if it's associated with the final kind of invoice. So that's why I don't like percentage-based markups. But I do use an hourly fee to come up with like what I'm calling a flat fee. So if I think something's going to take 30 hours in the planning process and design to like have meetings with these people and go do venue visits and all of that, if I think that's going to take 30 hours, then I'll charge, $3,000. And I tell them this doesn't change with what you order. So this is what I feel is necessary to take care of you as I think that you want. And that way I can guide you to the right decisions for you. And you don't have to worry about me pushing you to order something that I want to make just so I can have more money. So that's the way I kind of word that, maybe in a little bit more tact. But I hope that answers your questions. Let me know and email me if that doesn't answer.
Yeah, I want to throw two things on there. I think even if you can't come to the workshop, don't think you can afford a class or whatever. I mean, I would encourage you to rethink whether you can afford financial training, because that's huge. But one thing that you can change today, the next proposal that you write, is being crystal freaking clear with your customers about what is and is not included in your various pricings. So, for instance, this question or comment from Lori about if you have a decent budget and then the client starts adding things and wanting to meet a lot and do a venue walkthrough. I hope that in the beginning proposal, you will start to do things like, and Emily, you said something about this is what it costs to care for you. So I have started to call my operations line item my client care budget. Totally. And I say client care, project management, delivery, setup, and strike. I say all of those things. And then in the description, I tell them exactly what is included. So, one venue visit or no venue visits, strike based on access of venue between these hours or whatever, so that it's super clear as to what everyone is getting. And then my contract also states that, accompanying this price tag and this contract, you get X number of meetings for what duration and how long, how many revisions, and whether or not there's a venue visit, so that I can then go back to someone and say very clearly, like, oh, shoot, I didn't think that a venue walkthrough was going to be necessary. I've worked at this venue before and I'm happy to meet you there, but my meeting time is $75 an hour. And, I didn't include a venue walkthrough in this one. So happy to do it, but, this is what it is going to cost to do that. But to be very clear in your proposals and state what is and is included is something that you can do right now. You don't need any more education to do that. You just need to stop and think through what it is that you're quoting and then spell it out on your proposal. So,
yeah. Well, cool. I know we're taking a lot of people's time, so I just want to make sure people know we want you to do the workshop. And so definitely click that link and come on over. Toby, we'll maybe answer one question each maybe after this.
Okay.
And then, but I just want to make sure, where do people go to ask you more questions and connect with you?
So ask me more questions. You can email me. So I'm Toby@tobynelson.com, and I have an EY in my name. And you can call me and text me, 360-632-0686. And I will tell you, I want to help people, right? That's a thing. And especially if you come to the workshop, I want to be your lifeline. I want to help you if you're confused and you don't know what you're doing. I want you to reach out to me and ask me. I want to help. So then I'm going to answer this question from Nicole, largely because it's the first one that my eyes landed on. Would you have 5 brief top 5 or 10 actions that you can take today to transform your current conventional floral business into a gradually more sustainable one? That's a very good one. So really think whether or not you need foam to make what you're making. I think a lot of times chicken wire can be just as effective. I feel like the floral frogs are kind of spendy, so chicken wire is the more affordable mechanic. So that would be a thing to change. I think looking at your sourcing, and are there ways that you can look for an American grown alternative, that you can swap out a product that's maybe more commonly grown elsewhere for an American grown, or can you start sourcing from some of these farms that are certified to do better? And I know that like Eco Rose is a big company that's out there everywhere. They're good. The Alexandra roses are good. Prima Rose is another one. So there are some quick switches that you might be able to take. And then I think, look at your business practices. Are you using recycled content paper in your printers? And are you wrapping in plastic, or are you wrapping in paper? Like maybe you can just make a switch to butcher paper for your bouquet wraps. That's huge right there. So, try to sell, non-GMO soil or sustainably sourced palm oil candles instead of paraffin. So those are a few thoughts right off the bat.
Yeah, you could also start talking about it in your marketing and just kind of slipping the message into your social media, for example, and start seeing the support there. I feel like when you've been doing something a certain way for a long time, and then it seems like everybody is watching you and waiting for you and expecting you to do things the way that they expect you, that they've seen before. And I think that, sometimes it's just a little bit of encouragement, right? Like you're the business owner. This is your life. This is your business. You are driving the boat. You can decide what to do and be excited about it and share the joy and share the passion, and people will come along with you. I feel like when I went no foam, I was really fighting it. And I come from a landscape architecture background. I knew it was gross. It was gross to me. It was gross to my employees. But I thought that I needed it to make a certain kind of look. And so it actually took one of my employees saying, "Hey, Emily, there's, if anybody can find a different way to make these sculptural arrangements that you love without foam, like you can do this." And so just that kind of encouragement was enough for me to like try. Whereas before I was using the excuses to just not try. So again, like I get that it's hard. So like everybody's going to do what's the right next step for them. But just, make a step.
Yep. Baby steps. That's how change happens.
Yep. Well, I see one question that I'd love to just touch on too is from Lori.
Okay, do it.
Let's see. She says something about the wholesale industry. So part of the pricing dilemma is a lack of transparency in the wholesale industry because they have tiered pricing for various volumes. I really want to understand this and know my place in it. I would just suggest that you might want to refocus your attention not on them, because I think that can kind of send you down a rabbit hole of trying to understand why your circumstances. And then it sounds like you want to be able to explain to your clients why you have these circumstances. And I think that that's the wrong way to go about it. I think instead, you understand what your clients' problems are and what real problems they're having, and explain to them how you're solving their problems, and just focus the conversation on that. I think, it's cool. It's really good to understand the wholesale industry and kind of how that works, but I don't want you to feel like you're on the low end of the rung. And so therefore, you have any reason why you should have to explain that to your clients. I don't think you need to. And the things they care about are the things they care about, right? Like we can't push on them to care about the things that we care about. All we can do is show them why it's better and show that, and while we solve their problems that they do care about, because they will hire us because we're solving the problems they care about.
Truth.
Totally.
Thanks everybody for coming today. It was so fun.
This was fun. So I hope
you about stuff like this.
Me too. I hope we can continue the conversation offline, and I hope to see everybody here at the workshop. So let us know what you thought. Let us know any questions, and talk to you later, right?
Yeah. If you feel like you're leaving with an unanswered question, please email us and get that question answered. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
guys.